So our primary use case is anything that is structured data that is highly repetitive. We've also see a lot of gain right now in paperwork. So AR, AP, record to report, the cognitive product seems to be doing a really good job, and the pace of that is going fantastic. The most valuable feature of our solutions are the cognitive computing, because that is coming on to stream a lot faster than you would think. And so what used to be kind of in the middle of can this be done or not is becoming very much it can be done. And we're getting some incredible straight-through processing rates with AR around healthcare and financial services. So one of the largest use cases we have is we got about a $10 billion company that does something like 20,000 AR invoices a month. They had a solution in place. We actually replaced that with IQBot, and we're hosting it out of San Jose right now, and we're getting some phenomenal straight-through processing. So we've taken what would have taken 30 to 35 people and actually are able to do that a little bit more accurately with about 6. Ease of use is something that you need to get trained on, so once you've gone through the proper training, it's relatively straightforward to use. But I think one of the things that'll be good for just the community is to get the download of there's a free version that came out about a month ago called Community Edition. And so you can actually download it and train yourself. And so there's quite a bit of online training on their website as well as Community Edition. So after probably about 30 or 40 hours, you should be pretty good at it. Integrating RPA and cognitive with other solutions is relatively straightforward. Originally it came out that you actually did screen scraping, but the technology is way beyond that now, so you can do object cloning and things like that. Even moving into APIs, so we've actually coded APIs into a couple of the applications that most people would use and actually do that now instead of just trying to go through a screen. So our impressions of IQBot are that it goes relatively fast. The pace that it's being advanced every 6 months is really good. And I believe we have a couple of the largest installations of it in the US right now. So we're processing somewhere in the neighborhood of tens of thousands of AP and AR invoices. And we actually have robotic operation centers in the West Coast and the East Coast. So believe it or not, the first client we ever did was a Citrix client. And so we cut our teeth on Citrix around the RPA product. It has some quirks to it, but it's becoming much better. And so we actually have quite a few instances of that Citrix machine in production right now in a client. What we did is we took the Automation Anywhere ROI calcs and we added quite a few things to it. So we actually ask about 15 to 18 questions around process time, number of systems used, how many people, how many hours, and ultimately we can stack rank those ROIs on a process, and then we typically try to start with the largest ROIs first. So far what we've done, we've seen relatively close. I mean, it's almost impossible to hit it exactly, but they've become relatively close. So the ROI on the product's good. So we've done a little bit of everything. So in the Oracle, Salesforce.com, using Citrix, we actually did order to cash. In the IQBot world, we seem to be doing a lot of AR, so basically invoice to pay. And so those are the two that we see the most. We'll be moving into medical billing next. So we've done some really good prototypes with medical records, and I think we're ready to go into the medical billing cycle next. One of the promises we made to Automation Anywhere when we started is that everybody in our company would be trained and certified. And so believe it or not, even as a board member, I'm certified. Bot creation is relatively straightforward. I think, probably within 20 hours you should be pretty good at it. There's some nuances around it though that I think kind of separate first-time developers or very seasoned developers. And so I think what you'll see is a transition in the marketplace to not just how easy is it to develop one, but how easy it is to develop one that actually runs in production 99.9% of the time. So I think you'll see a little bit of a shift in that. If you write them correctly and you have good architectures internally, then scalability is relatively straightforward, and then also reliabilities as well. But you kind of need to write a few before you kind of get to that point. But as you see more and more of these go into production, those are going to be two of the big drivers. So I think a lot of people will be focusing on it. Probably one of the faster scales we've done is we actually did a prototype with IQBot with about 500 invoices and about 1,000 vendors. And we, in about 2.5 to 3 months time, start to finish, we've gone from that to about 15,000 invoices and 2,500 vendors. And so I would suggest that sometime in that 90-day, 120-day time frame, if you've done things properly and your architecture is good, you should be able to scale pretty much at any pace you care to. So we've seen both. So if you're behind a firewall, they're relatively easy to set up. When you're hosting the applications, so we actually host applications for people, it's a little bit more complicated and you need to talk to the IT department because you're actually outside their firewall and you're coming back inside their cloud. So depending on the architecture, it can be relatively straightforward and be put up in just a day or two, whereas if you're actually hosting it, coming back in, it's a little bit more complicated. To us, no one's balking at them. I mean, I think they're market rates, and I'm sure they'll change. But right now, no one's saying, that's ridiculous or it's impossible. I think they're just saying, show me the ROI and prove that the cost is accurate. Across the board, I'd say about a 9. There's some areas that they can move up into, and they're working on it right now. So I'm assuming everybody's working on it. So I would imagine we'll stay in that 9 range. I think probably IQBot, and it's not that it doesn't do a lot of things today, it's just that it can do so much more. So I think that product's going to go crazy. And then I think the next big thing you're going to see is the analytics engine, because I think people finally realize you can do analytics on what the bots are doing. And so I think that you'll see that come alive in the next 6 to 9 months too. Yeah, I would suggest, go do your homework, call some of the larger clients because they seem to face the largest problems. And Automation Anywhere's got 5 or 10 just gigantic accounts that you can talk to. And then ultimately, I would just be careful in the way you implement it. So it's like any tool. If you know what you're doing, it's great. And if not, you can make a mess. So I would just say be careful and really know what you're doing.